Ever since I can remember, Alex loved motorized vehicles. Doesn't matter if it was his Subaru Impreza, his Ski-Doo, or the 300 EXC 2-stroke enduro motorcycle from KTM that he has lately fallen in love with. I was looking at Alex when he was watching videos of the 300 EXC, and I knew right away that he needs to have one for his own. After he sold his KTM 690, which was a little bit too heavy to play around with off-road, he started waiting. The waiting process seemed like there was no end. KTM worked on a just-in-time production that should be finished by the end of August, but after delays here and there, it took almost a month to be delivered. But as every child knows, the longer the waiting, the more fun you have with the toy after all. And Alex was no exception. Once the 300 was delivered, he spent every second possible on this bike. Too bad though, in Austria it is forbidden to ride off-road. So the decision was clear. He needed to go to a different country to test its full potential. After sitting together with our uncle, George, who also owns a 300, the most appropriate country was Romania. Not only because the Red Bull Romaniacs are held annually at this beautiful place, there's also history that lies in this country. History from our parents, grandparents and ancestors, who grew up in the little villages close to Sibiu. The journey kickoff. The preparation of the gear is essential for this kind of trip. That is why Alex put a lot of effort in choosing the tools and equipment he would need in case of something breaks or doesn't work anymore. Personally, I packed all the camera gear I thought could be useful on this adventure. 3 GoPros and a GH4 should do. Furthermore, we were able to use George's car and the trailer for this trip. The trailer is really handy. Just take all your gear and throw it in there. The trip was exhausting and long. It took almost 14 hours until we reached a small village called Nadesh. In this village, or what's left of it, our mothers and George once grew up. There was even a small hotel where we could stay at. And the trailer we could leave at an old woman's courtyard to not have it stolen by anyone at night. A strong welcome schnapps was just what we needed in the morning to get ourselves going. Alex and George couldn't wait any longer to finally get on their motorcycles. Although we had a really short night behind us, we decided to make a small tour to get to know the area around the village a little bit better. They took off right away and you could see that they have fun in that environment. Alex and George took their 300s and I tested the Touareg in off-road environment a little bit. I tried to find a proper road or a path where the Touareg could manage to get through. The Touareg is a pretty nice car overall, but can it perform off-road? With its air chassis and all the extras you can get, I think it's capable of a lot, but I had to take it to the test. I took the first gravel part that I saw and it worked out pretty well. The scenery that was offered to me was just incredible. No human being in kilometers. Just nature and elegancy. Only until some sheepdogs came running at me when I entered their territory. Apparently they were so angry that they even bit into the wheel case of the car. I just tried to get out of there as soon as possible, to not let them damage even more. Because we were separated for almost the whole time in Romania, we used high-frequency walkie-talkies to stay in touch. I radioed Alex, and we managed to meet up.
Ja, passt halt hin. Ciao.
After a small chat in the wilderness, we decided to head back to the trailer and leave it for today. At the hotel we tried to make up a plan for tomorrow, and then we fell asleep right away. We wanted to have lunch up on a hill under a tree that Alex and George saw on their scouting trip. To get there, Alex and George took their 300s and I would hike up there. Again, the scenery was just incredible. Beautiful woods and fields as far as you could see. As soon as I reached the tree, I started looking for firewood to prepare the fireplace. Time flies up there. When Alex and George came back, we had a really delicious lunch together. After lunch, it was time to have some fun together in the last wilderness of Europe. In the evening, we met a Romanian guy called Mircea who promised to go with Alex and George the next day to test out their enduro skills. We met up early in the morning, and they couldn't wait any longer to finally get on their bikes again. We decided to meet up for lunch at a house in the wilderness where basically no one lives, and I would get up there with his brothers and his father, and Alex, George and Mircea would drive up there with their 300s. Alex explained later that Mircea is also helping to build the course for the Red Bull Romaniacs. So he knew all places around there as if it was his own pocket. Alex said it was not that easy to catch up with him all the time. But for the most part it worked out pretty well. And as I could see in the footage later on, they never hesitated to take the steepest hill and the hardest fall right after Mircea. Overall it was really exhausting, and by the time they arrived at the house, they were just completely done and hungry. Most of the roads in Romania are so bad, you need a proper off-road vehicle in order to get through there. So after the really needed lunch, we headed back to the trailer again. Nevertheless, we decided to come back sometime and do all this again all together.